Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video, we're going to just quickly touch on what you should focus on doing once you hit level 80 with your first character in World of Warcraft. And obviously, this list is entirely subjective, but it's just a list of things that I suggest you should really get onto doing with your characters as you make your way throughout the game. So the first one, and the most obvious one, is going to be to do the War Within campaign. Now you can start the War Within campaign once you have reached rank 4 with the War Within Renown factions. So as you can see, you have to hit rank 4 with all of them. Once you've done that, you will unlock the campaign. And the campaign's cool because obviously firstly it steps into the next part of the story, but it also of course gives you the ability to obtain some 558 gear, which helps to fill in some of your slots, but it's generally just a good way to progress the story and prepare yourself for the next section of what is ongoing. The next one, and probably the most easy one, is going to be doing world quests and side quests. So the reason I denote both of them is because firstly there's a couple reasons why. So the main reason for doing your world quests is pretty simple. World quests give you a ton of great resources. They also give you renown with the factions that you're going to want to work with, which obviously are pretty useful from obviously the whole standpoint of the bonuses that they give, but as well also obviously the ability to buy higher level gear from them, which is only really going to be relevant like at this point in the expansion. I think basically beyond like the release of Mythic Plus, the moment that comes out, the armory items that the vendors exchange here are not going to be useful. So farming their renown as quickly as possible by completing world quests and side quests is going to be a good primary goal. But on top of that as well, world quests and side quests have the chance to drop gear. They drop gear that helps you with crafting. They drop gear that helps you with basically improving your character. They can drop items to improve your overall gear. Pretty decent items as well. Like, don't get it twisted. There's lots you can get from doing the world quests, and including just on a baseline money, which is really, really good. But the side quests help you with reputation, achievements as well, like completing, for example, for completing Sojourner of each section, which is obviously great, so you can obviously go and do that. And then on top of that as well, just the gold, the items, the knowledge, the rewards that you'll get for your various sections and crafts. So the other one that's obviously super important that I think needs to be mentioned is certain weekly activities have become open to you once you hit the beginning renown ranks, and also you hit the different sections. So like Theatre Troop becomes available to you. For example, in the Ring of Deeps, the weekly Awakening the Machine quest becomes available to you, which is very important. You also gain access to a weekly quest as well. That gives you access to a pinnacle cache per character, which is very important. That can be accepted from inside Dornagol. You also get a weekly quest for the ability to get reputation. You get weekly quests for acquiring different craft orders and completing those for knowledge. Basically your weeklies start to become available to you. Now the vaults and everything aren't available at this point in time, but it's a great situation where you can start to really kind of stack up. One of the most important ones is the special assignment. This is a weekly that players can complete. It's one out of all 4 areas. There'll be one. And by completing it, you give yourself an adventurer level piece of gear, which at this point is really quite good. It's a 571 piece of gear, and it's upgradable. So it's pretty much one of the higher levels of gear that you can get at this point in time. And it's definitely something that you should consider doing, basically. So then on top of all of that, you're doing a side quest, you're doing all that. Collecting rares is also very important. This is one of the few times knocking out rares, collecting treasures, and just in general, giving yourself a chance to explore the map is going to be available to you. It's one of the best times to complete a lot of the exploration challenges that are available in the War Within and with any expansion. Exploring the maps, finding the treasures, all of these are pretty important because it gives you essentially a great way to grab yourself a ton of achievements, but also these treasures are valuable at this point. A lot of them give you profession knowledge, a lot of them give you bags, some of them give you pets. These are just good things to grab throughout the expansion. And of course, a very important one is working on your professions. It's great to get a head start on your professions, depending on obviously what they are. I mean, all professions are valuable, but crafting on your professions, gathering, and just in general trying to make money as well is a good time to do so. Even just from gathering resources, you can get quite a fair chunk of money as the market is not in surplus yet. And also, it's a fairly good time to start getting into the basics of like crafting and gathering. If you're someone who's struggled before, this is the time that you're going to be able to get yourself into crafting and gathering. Whereas, when it gets a bit later on, catching up can become a little bit difficult for you as a player. So obviously we can talk about, delves. So delves are a great way to do content for yourself. So if you are someone who's looking at doing maybe some basic content, you can obviously do that with delves. If you're someone who's looking to do solo content, you can do that with delves. But it's a great way to grab yourself a little bit of gear. Right now, obviously it's limited to tier 3, but it's good to get a head start, especially on giving Bran EXP, because it'll help you later on as the tier difficulties go up, whether you're a single or group style player. Not to mention as well, it gives you tons of other rewards like resonance crystals and just in general a ton of great stuff. So feel free to start beginning that delve process and working your way through it as good practice. And then obviously the final thing that you can do, well, second to last thing, is heroic dungeons. Heroic dungeons obviously currently are the highest tier that we can do. At this point in time, they drop 571 pieces of gear. It's not a huge amount, it's the same as your weekly chests, but an important thing with it is obviously to get your character fully geared up, ready to go. And on top of that as well, it's good practice for the various dungeons if you're trying to get yourself ready for when Mythic Plus and Mythic 0 drops. So it's just a good way to gear up, fill in your slots, especially if you're doing weeklies and things like that, and just grab yourself, a great way of getting yourself geared up. And last but not least, of course, level and alt. If you are someone who's basically ready with your character, which is not unusual depending on how much you play, consider leveling an alt, whether it's an alternative option for raiding or higher level content, or you just want to experience maybe a horde character, or have your character ready for a different style of gameplay, or you're just looking to spice things up because you realize maybe this profession or class wasn't for you. Feel free to go level a new character, and it's a good time to do so. Obviously, it's maybe not always the fastest time, but it's a good time. You have a ton of added value, and you can basically get yourself up to speed without missing out on trying to catch up on content. So yeah, pretty cool. But that is that. So that is it in terms of what you can do when you hit level 80. Obviously, guys, there will be, I'm not going to do gearing guides and things like that at this point in time, because realistically there's not like a lot of straight line gearing that you can do. Like, of course you can do heroics, of course you can do weeklies, of course you can get yourself up to speed, but the thing is it's actually quite simple, the gearing process right now. Things will get substantially more interesting when mythics, heroics, raids, etc. all drops, and then you have more options, especially when it comes to weeklies and such, which is very, very important. But yeah, basically, to cut a long story short, I think overall, don't worry so much about like straight gearing, as realistically you'll catch up to 571 in a matter of moments. Just try to enjoy yourself and have a good time, and from there I think you'll enjoy yourself. But yeah, that's it from me. Bye.